Okay, fantastic. It's recording. So I'll start maybe. I'm Sara Petti. I'm the community manager for Frictionless Data. I joined the project 4 months ago, and I'm really happy to be here today, and especially very excited to hear from the fellows.
Hi.
Oleg, do you want to go next?
Oh.
I think someone already started, but sure.
I thought it was you. Oh, was it Carlos?
It was me, yes.
Go, Kyle, go.
At the same time. Yes, I'm Carlos, and I'm working for the Swiss Pole Institute. I'm a software engineer there, and we're using Frictionless to pass, especially to pass data to another institution. And I've been involved in different things on the Frictionless community, especially doing a tool fund last year about the schema collaboration.
Thanks, Carlos. Who wants to go next?
All right, I guess I can go next. So hi, everyone. I'm Oleg. I'm based in Switzerland and longtime supporter of open knowledge and frictionless data. And I just jumped out of another Zoom call because I was just running a virtual hackathon on the topic of tourism. If you ever come to Switzerland as a tourist, you'll be pleased to know there's lots of open data. And in fact, one team was using frictionless data in the presentations just now. So there you go. Happy to be here. Am I supposed to nominate somebody?
Ah, we can do that. Yes, why not?
All right, Jonathan, you're right on my screen.
Right, my name's Jonathan. I'm a software developer based out of Washington, United States. I work for a company called Innovi Health and in the healthcare space. And basically, frictionless data could do a lot for my company. And so I'm interested in advancing the use of frictionless data and then also just not only as consuming it, but also producing it and all that good stuff. So that's where I kind of want to just come and see the momentum of the community.
Great, thanks. Do you want to nominate someone to go after you?
All right, Daniel.
I'm just going to pause here and say that should we save the fellows intros for later when they're all going as a group?
That's true. Then maybe this thing of like jumping to people won't work that much. So I said that if a fellow is nominated, then the fellow can directly nominate someone else without introducing. So Daniel.
Sounds good.
Okay,
They'll just take the skip.
Kate, I think, right? Oh, there's also Yusuf and Gabriel. Well, okay, Kate, if you want to go.
Okay. Hello, everybody. My name is Gabriel. I'm from Brazil. I'm a public administrator and I work in a public office. And I'm pretty new in this area about open data and open knowledge. So I'm trying to learn the framework and to put this in action here in my office. I think that's it.
Thanks. And Keith, do you want to go next as you were already speaking?
Yep. Oh, no, it's fine. My name's Keith. I'm a postdoc at the National Institutes of Health, and I do kind of bioinformatics and precision medicine research. And I'm generally interested in trying to make it easier to do large-scale integration of bio and genomics data. And I think Frictionless has a great potential role to play there.
Thanks. And for Pierre and Laura that just got in, we're just doing a quick round of introductions. So if you want to quickly introduce yourself, go ahead.
Hi everybody. My name is Laura. I'm from Italy. I'm managing an organization called Lion Portal Foundation, which is working with land data. We started aggregating data on land 10 years ago and develop also standards for the sector and best practices. So I'm interested to learn from other sectors on how you are doing things and whether there are, good practices that we can learn from. Yeah, just curious. Thank you.
Thanks. And Yusuf also, do you want to quickly introduce yourself?
Okay, hi guys, can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Hello?
Yes, we can.
Okay, great. Hi everyone, my name is Yusuf. I'm based here in Kaduna, Nigeria. I'm a geographer and also work as a data trainer for the Catholic Relief Services. I'm interested in anything open data and open knowledge. So for the last 2 years, I've been the regional ambassador for Youthmaps. So the Youthmaps is a global network of university-based students around the world who are defining their world through mapping. So we capitalize on open mapping technologies and data to support humanitarian works in areas that are affected by extreme events like flooding and landslide and a whole lot of stuff. So I'm happy to be here. This is, I think this is the third time here, I guess, on the community call or more. But in recent time, I've been a bit occupied with work, so I'll be jumping. But I'm glad to be here and happy to see everyone here. So am I supposed to nominate someone? Or maybe you can just choose at random for me because I seem not to see the list. I'm on my mobile phone, actually.
Yeah, and also I think there's just one person left with was Edgar that just joined. We are quickly doing a round of introduction if you want to just say a few words about you.
Yes, thank you. My name is Edgar Lemus. I'm part of the partnerships team at the Humanitarian OpenStreetMap team. I'm fairly new to the Frictionless data community, but I was very interested about the initiative and I wanted to see opportunities for collaboration and how we could potentially partner. Thank you for having us.
Great,
Hey,
thanks.
Those are some nice plants in the background, Edgar.
Thanks.
Okay, am I missing anyone? Just to make sure. I think that, yeah, we all introduced ourselves. I'm just, so posting in the chat the link to the agenda. If ever you want to add something, just feel free to go on it. And yeah, it's also like collaborative notes and all these kind of things. And yeah, I'll give it to you, Lily. You can go next with the quick introduction.
Great, thank you. And thanks for introducing yourselves, everyone. It's nice to see some new faces. As you noticed, there's a large chunk of people on this call that did not introduce themselves yet, and that's because they are the Frictionless Fellows. And they are a group of early career researchers that have been working with the Frictionless team for the past 9 months. And their goals as part of this fellowship were to learn how to use Frictionless and use it within their own research work. So they all have data and they all have their own work that they're researching in their own disciplines. And they also were learning about open science in general and how to be good advocates for open science within their own institutions. And also just talking about various things that are important and going on in the open scene today. So I can give you just like a few more minutes of information about what the program was. And then I'm gonna do a round robin where we have each of the fellows introduce themselves, tell you a little bit about their background and what they've learned over the past 9 months and any future plans that they have in the space. So part of the fellows program is that this was our second cohort, and this cohort had 7 people that have finished, and they're from around the world, which you will hear in a minute. And so it's been really great to hear perspectives from scientists from around the world because we have different needs, as it turns out. And their outcomes during the program were that they wrote a lot of blogs. So if you want to read blogs, we can put the link there. They have given workshops individually and as a group, and they're actually giving a group workshop during CSV Conf next week. So if you want to see even more you can come to that. That's a free event and it's on Tuesday. Yeah. Okay, I think that's everything I want to say. So actually, I'm going to start because one of the fellows, Sam, could not be here. So I have a video that I recorded of her introducing herself. So I'm going to play that for you. I'm going to share my screen first. Oh, Sarah, now it says I can't share my screen.
Oh, wait. 1 second. I think I just need you to. Okay, try now.
Yes. Oh, hold on. Sorry. I think that I hit the wrong button. Hold on. Let me do it once more. I have to make sure that I share the sound so you can actually hear Sam talk. Okay, can you see her video? Okay,
Yes.
I'm going to play it. Hopefully you all can hear this.
Hi, everyone. I am Sam Willerat. I'm sorry I could not make the meeting today. It's a little bit early for me. So Lily offered to record me. I am finishing up my MLIS degree, my Library and Information Science degree in May 2021. And I'm currently applying for some library jobs at universities and the government. So in the future, I'm going to advocate for open science by helping researchers adopt open science principles and to help them navigate this new open science, open access world that we're hopefully all moving towards. So I hope to, assist other researchers. And then when I do research, I will apply the principles myself as well. I learned so much this past year during the fellowship. Obviously, I learned how to use the frictionless data tools. I also learned how to use GitHub for the first time, which was very fun. And then more generally, I feel that the fellowship gave me an opportunity to move more from like understanding the theory of open science to actually practice it. And so now I feel like I have a much better understanding of the challenges that people have when they try to adopt open science. So I think that'll really help me advocate for it in the future. So thank you so much for the opportunity this past year. I'll always treasure it, and I hope to keep in contact with all of you.
All right, that was Sam. And next, I'm going to pick on Kate.
Hi, I'm Kate. I live in Portland, Oregon, so it's early here. And I am a fourth-year PhD student in biomedical engineering at Oregon Health and Science University. It's actually where Lily did her PhD. And my focus is I study the gut microbiome and the urinary microbiome in men with prostate cancer. So I deal with a ton of data, and it's a lot of genomics data. So I've been learning how to use the frictionless tools with that type of data and so much. And it's been a little challenging, but it seems like a lot of people are doing the same thing. So that's been a really great experience. So coming into the fellowship, I didn't know that much about open science. I kind of vaguely knew that we should all try and make sure that our research is reproducible and that others can reuse it. However, I didn't actually know how complicated that can be. So once I started kind of getting more into the details and the actual practice of it, I learned about how it can be really sticky and difficult. But I think there's a lot of really interesting work in that space. And I'm only in my fourth year of my PhD, and it's, I think, going to be a little bit of a longer program. So I think for the remaining time of my PhD, I'm really interested in trying to utilize like the frictionless tools and learn more about the open science community and keep engaging in various events. I just want to share the most, I think, rewarding thing that I did with the fellowship is me, Anne, and Evelyn, who are also here. We hosted an open data day event on, I think it was March 6th. And that was, I think, incredibly rewarding and interesting. We came up with some really great speakers and got a lot of people engaged. So that was, I don't know, something that I'll remember for a very long time. Yeah, so I think I'll pass it on to the next person. Lily, should I choose someone? Okay, cool. I'm gonna choose Donnie because I know you still go on a bus soon or a train soon.
Yeah, thank you. I'm glad that you remember actually, but yeah, I had to fly in 10 minutes because I have to catch a train. But yeah, I'm Danny, and I've been doing research on brain imaging for a few years now, but very recently I moved out of the academic career path, and I'm still going to be involved in doing research, but this time more into industry, let's say, as a biostatistician in a company that conducts research on cancer. And well, the other day we were chatting a bit about what the fellowship has meant to each one of us. And I would like to say that I wanted to emphasize how much it made me feel way more confident and more comfortable about joining open science communities because I was already familiar with many of the topics on open science, but I had always been very reluctant and very even scared about collaborating with other people and joining an open source project, for example. And yeah, I always assumed that that was meant for other people that knew more than me and that I didn't have any contribution to make. But yeah, this has changed a lot over the past 9 months that the fellowship lasts. And yeah, now that my work is gonna focus specifically and almost exclusively on data management and analysis in this field of clinical trials, I intend to use the frictionless data tools to help me create a more structured framework so I can aim for like more transparency and being more accountable in the way I deal with this very sensitive information about patients. So yeah, I think it was actually like a super nice experience for me joining the fellows, and that not only I learned about like many technical aspects as well, but also for me the most important thing was like kind of like taking the leap and feeling like joining a community of people that are actually really nice and that are really looking forward to embrace other people joining. So maybe I can throw in now to Anne.
Hi, everyone. And Danny, safe travels in a bit. Hi, everyone. Nice to meet you. I'm Anne. I'm based in Geneva, Switzerland, but I'm actually from the US. I am a little bit of an outlier, I guess, in the group, and very much felt like an imposter because I'm actually an anthropology and sociology student at the Graduate Institute here in Geneva, which is an IR and development studies sort of school. And weirdly enough, the fellowship has actually radically changed my direction in a lot of ways. So I actually focus, a lot of my research has kind of organically started focusing on open source communities and crowdsourcing. And it's funny to see people actually hear from HOT and Youthmappers, because that whole universe of OpenStreetMap is actually the like source of my research and the people that I've talked to. And so I guess also in another life, I was a data journalist and kind of more of a visual storyteller. And so that very much informed my original interest in very much learning the technical tools that ultimately kind of changed into my interest in like this whole universe of openness. And so I guess if there's anything that I've learned over the past year, it's actually how fragile these communities are, and how, you know, the backbone of the internet in a lot of ways are open source communities. And I had no idea when I first started, and I had no idea the type of debates and conversations and negotiations that were happening in an idea like open knowledge that I'd always viewed as kind of unchanging or even universal in a way. Yeah, and so it's been amazing to be a part of this like interdisciplinary group, to learn so much from everyone else. And in the future, I'll probably be heading more towards the translation side of things, trying to bridge the gap between these different disciplines to help maybe use language and storytelling, data journalism to kind of, I think, apply frictionless tools in real time, but also talk about the underlying kind of idea behind this, which is essentially the importance of making information more accessible and easier to share between different parties and different groups. So yeah, that got a little bit more philosophical, but it's definitely had echoes across everything else that I do now. I'm gonna nominate, how about Evelyn?
Thank you, Anne. My name is Evelyn Knight Okello. I'm from Nairobi, Kenya. I'm a master's candidate from the University of Nairobi, and I'm conducting my practical work. I've actually finished at the International Center for Insect Physiology and Ecology based in Nairobi, Kenya. My focus is just the interplay between insects and their role in agriculture. So I've been looking at the phenotypic and genetic diversity of some pollinators associated with avocado orchards. And I'm just completing my master's, and that means submission in the next 1 or 2 weeks. I'm also applying for PhD scholarships, and what the role of open science comes in, because at the moment, when I started the program, I actually didn't know that the open science, open data movement was such a big thing, because over here, people are just focusing on, you know, the traditional science. People are not focusing on the new things that are happening out there. And then there are people who have these ideas that open science is, you know, expensive in the long run. People are still holding on into the traditions, and it's actually quite unexplored compared to the rest of the world. So during my fellowship, I've had the interactions, got to know even GitHub for the first time, and kind of got used to playing around with GitHub and Python. And that was a scary experience at first, but it's been enjoyable in the end, thanks to Lily. Going forward, already I've started talking to my fellow students, and I've given a presentation about open science, where I also collaborated with one person from Open Science Kenya. That's the movement that's like promoting open science in the country. And we gave a very nice presentations, and we were told that, you know, next we should go again and now teach them the tools and like talk more about, have the conversations around open data and open science. And that was really encouraging. So I'm really looking forward to having more conversations, organizing more workshops in the universities and the schools that are around, and even let students know, the ones that are in the universities and the ones that are in even high schools, that there's something around here that's really important and that we should really focus on and invest in. For my PhD, I'm now going to be more data smart, because my master's was really messed up. And yeah, I'm going to now apply the frictionless tools. I'm going to document my data, have the metadata. I can't really wait to start working. And I'm really grateful that the frictionless debugged the whole thing about data for me. So it was really a great experience getting to know the fellows, getting to share some jokes in Slack. And I'm really looking forward not to like disband this group, and maybe just continue like that, meet a few times, have conversations, discuss transparency and open science legalities and the gray areas around it. And yeah, I'm also grateful for the whole frictionless fraternity. I've met Sarah once or twice, and been in the community calls once or twice. And I really appreciate those sessions where somebody talks about a software I didn't know existed. And I'll still be here in the Hangouts, and I'm hoping to learn more. Thank you. That is quite long. I nominate Katerina.
Hi everyone. My name is Katerina. I'm based in Athens, Greece, and I'm finishing my PhD here at the University of Athens. I was going to say that I don't have a background in programming, but lots of us don't. So I'm not that special after all. My background is in the humanities and clinical sciences. So I'm a linguist and a speech therapist. And my research focuses on language, cognitive, and music skills in preschoolers. I applied for the fellowship at first because I felt like I didn't have the opportunity to gain any practical digital skills when I was in my undergrad or my postgrad studies. And I knew about open science and the reproducibility crisis by being in the area of psychology in general. So I knew that there was a crisis going on. But then when I was accepted into the program, I saw issues in reproducibility in my own research as well. So I think that the whole fellowship has helped me to have a better research workflow and possibly a reproducible workflow, and to maybe pass on these values to other researchers as well. I became very passionate with helping others from the humanities gaining more digital skills. And I've founded, with Lily's help, a chapter in Athens of PyLadies, empowering women to learn Python. So I'm hoping to help undergrads from the humanities to gain more digital skills and, maybe get a job somewhere else. Yeah, so that's me, I think. Jacqueline, I think you're the last one.
Yes, I think so. I just want to say that I've been hearing everybody talk about their work for 9 months, and it's still just a joy and so great to hear from all of the fellows. So my name's Jacqueline, and I'm finishing my master's in computer science. I'm currently based in New York City in the United States. And I joined the Fellows program because I knew enough to know that open science was important to me, and that I felt like it was an emergency for me to learn more. But that's about it. I mean, my actual practical knowledge of it was really limited. I just knew that I needed to know more. And so because my baseline was low, I feel like I've grown so much over the last 9 months. I was really looking particularly for a sense of community around it too, and to build my language around it so that I could make persuasive arguments when I'm advocating for it in my workplace and in my publications when I'm advocating for it. And also so that I can be a more responsible researcher. And I feel like I accomplished all of those goals. And I've really loved the sense of community. And I definitely intend to maintain a sense of community around open source and open science and open access. And I am really excited to implement the frictionless tools in some of my upcoming publications that I have coming out. I'm data packaging as we speak for some publications. And yeah, also I'll be starting my PhD in computer science in the fall. And I really do feel strongly that this fellowship helped prepare me to be more responsible in my PhD, but also to even get some of the opportunities I had, like some of the fellowships I've been offered. I feel very strongly that this fellowship prepared me for those. And I'm just so grateful, and very grateful for Lily too, in particular, for being such a good captain of the ship all these months. So thank you so much for this opportunity.
Thanks, everyone. it's been a pleasure to have all of the fellows. I'm going to put some links in the chat if you want to look at the blog post or the recording from the Open Data Day workshop. I also put them in the notes. And Sarah, do we have a few minutes if anybody has questions they want to ask the fellows?
Absolutely, yes.
Cool. Does anybody have a burning question for one or all of the fellows?
Okay. I'll ask a general question that any of you all are, actually, if someone else was going to start, you can go first. No. So after the 9 months, what do you all see as the major challenge or challenges going forward? Or what are some of the big unsolved problems that you think would benefit the community as a whole or the world if it were tackled? I know that's a pretty big question, but you don't have to give the answer. It could just be a answer.
If I can just give my 2 cents on what I'm passionate about, I just found that there are discrepancies in between countries and between the funding that is given for open science initiatives around the world. And I just found that even though I'm in an EU country, the initiatives hosted by Greece compared to Germany or the Netherlands or the UK are vastly different. So sometimes it felt like I was the only one in Athens, or I don't know, in a big part of Greece that was working on open science. And that's just within the EU.
What I'm thinking is that, oh, sorry, Kate. What I'm thinking is that for anything to be successful, there must be some at least laws or regulations that guide it. So though, as Katerina says, that the policies are different, or the versions we get of open science are different compared to the regions that we're in. But I'm thinking that if it was a concept that was given to every country, and then now each system to work on its own path and its own speed, then at least little by little, the open science agenda can be pushed better, and people can get to understand exactly what they're getting into when they're considering open science. Coming from a relatively like from a community that the open science field is not so much explored, I'm just thinking that those things could be different over here. But if we make more awareness, if we push harder, then I think the open science agenda can be forwarded. So I'm thinking it's just little things that we might do towards the positive directions in each of our capacities that can improve the overall open science agenda. Yeah.
Sounds like a lot of the issues that people are thinking about are kind of policy limitations or lack of support. I wonder if and how much of a role like the open data community could play in kind of furthering the causes or advocating via things like data journalism to show that, countries that adopt these kinds of technologies and, make use of it actually benefit from it. I'm sure some people are already looking at this, but if you could try to basically make the argument for increased use of open data by using open data and showing it with visualizations and things, that could be a good path forward, I would think.
Yeah, I was actually going to say translation, translation in a metaphorical sense is really important. Because if learning from the fellows over the course of the past year, it sometimes felt, especially at the beginning, that all of these different conversations or debates about what openness means, how uneven the landscape is, as Katerina was touching on, sometimes means that conversations are happening, but they're not necessarily intersecting. And I think journalism and data journalism especially play a really important role in translating that. But at the same time, because it's so uneven, it's always this tension between like, how do we try and make the landscape more uneven, but also recognize how specific context may mean that like universal openness may not necessarily apply. Yeah, and I wonder if storytelling is the role, but also honestly, I would say involving more like social scientists and people that could talk more about like social role that data plays. I think very much could be cool. Yeah, I don't know if that necessarily made sense, but been existentializing a lot about that in the blog.
I agree. I think that translation thing is a huge problem in my discipline, at least. I'm in machine learning, particularly for biomedical applications. And I think a lot of people in the machine learning community are kind of failing to see how general open science conversations apply specifically to their work and what they should be doing, particularly because different disciplines, obviously they have different needs, and the way in which they're going to enact open science is necessarily going to be different. And if you don't have, rigorous conversations going on about it, it might not feel intuitive how you're supposed to do it in your discipline. And so, one thing in particular is data sharing and code sharing. It's not intuitive to a lot of machine learning scientists how they can even do that ethically without violating intellectual property or without violating, for example, patient privacy laws. And so we need to find a way to, increase the conversation in a way that's very specific to the context, I think. But I think, for me, like the big outstanding question is how to establish community specific guidelines. I like this whole top-down thing, and I do think that like data journalism and also even maybe policy can help in that sense, but also top-down just within your own community, I think is going to have to happen because, the intricacies are so nuanced per field. And currently for machine learning, for example, there's no community-wide established guideline on what you're supposed to do. And so people are just kind of going into it blind, trying to be responsible or with their head in the sand entirely. So some people are trying to develop checklists and things like that are adopted within their particular niche of machine learning. Like I've seen some in computer vision, like biomedical imaging, but that's really specific. So if you're not in biomedical imaging, you're not going to see that checklist and you're not going to know what to do. So anyways, I very much agree with Anne and everybody, but yeah, that's what I see as a big problem.
Awesome. Thanks, everybody. Sarah, should we move on to other agenda items?
Yes. So thanks again to the fellows for the very, very, very nice presentation. It was great to see some of you again and meet some of you for the first time. That was very, very nice. But the good thing to announce to all of you is that you can see again the fellows next week at CSVConf. I can paste the link to the conference here in the chat. It's a great conference, so check the program. It's on the link that I just sent. So the fellows are going to present on the 4th of May. And on the 5th, we have another Frictionless Data event, which is Frictionless Data for Wheat by Simon Tyrrell, who will actually present in the next community call, which is happening on the 27th of May. Other things that we wanted maybe to discuss, I saw that Oleg said something about instant APIs for small frictionless data apps. Do you want to quickly say something about this, Oleg?
Sure. I mean, first of all, really great to hear all the fellows' short stories. I had a great privilege to talk with Anne about a month ago, who's also based in Switzerland, though it's a really small country, but with very distinct regions and sort of like worlds within worlds. The international world of Geneva being quite distinct from the mountain region of Graubünden. Anyway, it's a small country, very political. So I appreciated the discussion you were just having about the impact of open data on and the role of the open data community on trying to advocate for more stringent rules around funding open research projects and making sure they're reproducible and so on. And actually at the last Frictionless Data Meetup, we wanted to present something from a hackathon we had in January. So yeah, for those who don't know, like I helped to run the Swiss chapter, and we do a lot of hackathons, like a lot of hackathons. At the moment, every 2 weeks, a hackathon, right? And it was originally like just kind of a get together for our community and a way for us to just build some kind of movement here locally. And we're very much inspired by what folks were doing in the UK and other countries. And now it's become like a real kind of feature that draws a lot of people in. So I think like, and it's not just hackathons. I mean, we're trying to really push for data-driven hackathons, or data hack days, as we're calling them. A lot of people take issue even with the word hackathon because they feel that's too corporate, too human resources recruitment focused. Anyway, so our hack days, if you want, they try to put data providers together with data users for a weekend or a couple of days. Like I said, there's a hackathon running on right now, which is organized by university students with some coaching from us, and they're getting university credits for organizing a hackathon, which is pretty cool because they're thinking about, how to, what does it take to run a good event, and we're telling them, well, try to have a good positive impact. Think about sustainability. Think about messaging, right? Positive, progressive, political, whatever messaging you want to make, and think about how to do that with data. So the thing I've been kind of, I see that part of my role is, obviously I helping to organize the event, but also to share tools and knowledge. So I usually put together some ideas of my own, but generally kind of on an as needed basis when people run into trouble, kind of help them out. And as I mentioned, there's a team right now working on a frictionless data project, whose presentation will be online shortly, and I can share with you. But I thought I'd quickly show you what we did at the event 2 weeks ago, which was the Cultural Data Hackathon, which is the Swiss kind of Open GLAM initiative. I'll try to share my screen and like just in 5 minutes.
Yeah, maybe I need to wait. I need to give you the right to do so. Okay, now you should be able to do it.
Thank you. There we go. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this was the 5th or 6th year that we do an annual event focusing on cultural data, which is data coming from heritage institutions. And and you mentioned being kind of a social science researcher. A lot of people from the social science domain are really interested in data, and they're kind of, they have a library background, or they just like to collect and to aggregate and to sift through information resources. It's just been one of the best kind of milieus to talk to people about reproducible data. And so, yeah, our focus was on linked open data. This is, so semantic web technology is definitely of big interest, graphs and all. Machine learning, obviously over the years, has become more and more prominent in what people are trying to do. And, but also human-computer interaction, really thinking about design, user interfaces, various channels to reach an audience, which is quite important for museums and archives and libraries. And of course, crowdsourcing, right, as being both a way to create data as well as to validate the quality of data. And so, yeah, so this was the event in the middle of April. And I'll just, we were working with Wikimedia and some other really cool organizations, and there were about, I can't remember, quite a lot of participants, but maybe like it wasn't a huge hackathon, but people were really committed. They really spent the weekend working in teams and trying to build these projects. I would just want to show you the one I worked on, because it was really like focused on two things. One was the idea of intangible cultural heritage, which is kind of a mouthful, but it essentially, we're talking about digital art as being an intangible aspect of culture that is kind of like not necessarily preserved and yeah, supported in the best way. And so there's this association that I work with. They're based in Switzerland. They're connected to a group of international organizations who collect from the demo scene or just the scene these electronic art productions. And they've been doing this for over 40 years. These are pieces of multimedia, art, soundtracks, and so on. And we wanted to open up their data set. And first of all, we had to understand really what was the data set, because this wasn't like, yeah, there are hundreds of thousands of these artworks, and they're split across a whole bunch of different portals. And so we focused on this one called Demo Zoo, but there would be like potentially a dozen others we could aggregate. And it actually is quite a modern application. It has a web service, and we could easily scrape it, but their API is limited. You know, it was made for the needs of their, you know, front-end application, which is typically the case. And so we got their entire database dump in SQL format, and then we exported it into CSV format and made a data package from it. So yeah, I'll just very quickly show you the result. It looks like this. So we have this API of our own, which collects data in a very similar way, but through frictionless data, we're advocating for a standard. So together with this, on the GitHub repository in our data package JSON, we're saying, look, this is a standard schema. This you know, let's discuss having a common data format between these 12 different electronic art repositories, right? What would that look like? Is this the best way to describe your works, and so on? So people got the message right away, right? And you know, especially as they're trying to harmonize some of their efforts to collect, refine, ascertain the value or historical significance or whatever of these, you know, 30, 40, 20-year-old productions, which really have by the way, a niche, but quite a significant audience for. Some of them are considered real like masterpieces. And so how do you define a masterpiece, right, of electronic art? The other thing that I just wanted to say is that we use data flows to do all the data wrangling, right? So extracting from JSON and then connecting to the SQL and so on. Data flows is a really cool library. I enjoy putting it to production, and it's like, yeah, 100 lines of code, and it's doing stuff that normally would be a lot more code to do. And the data flow also allows us to be repeatable, right? So anytime I run the flow, it could be a GitHub action. It regenerates the CSV file, and we've got fresh data. The data actually looks like this, just to give you a quick impression, right? So you have titles and kind of notes about it, and dates. Oh my gosh, browsing spreadsheets on GitHub is terrible, but yeah, you get the idea. And finally, this server Python, that's something I've been working with kind of on and off for a while. I think I might have proposed it once in Discord or in the forum. The fact that it would be quite cool if a data package could serve itself. So that's the idea of kind of an instant API that just based on reading of the data package and a little bit of magic, in this case, pandas, which is magic, yeah. You get the ability to run queries on the data, and so very quickly, again, in less than 100 lines of code, you have an API which not just doesn't just display the data, it actually lets you do things like produce a random value or to sort based on the URI or whatever, and it actually works, and it's fast, even though we've got like, this is a very small server and it has like 300,000 rows in it. Everything is in memory, so it's ultra fast. And you can we built this little experimental app for it, which obviously has a nice, cool little animation. And then it's just like an infinite scroller. So it just keeps loading and loading and loading, right? More and more pages of kind of random production. So kind of the idea was making a quick Netflix of electronic art. Yeah. So anyway, I'll paste the link, and I'll also try to resurrect the discussion around kind of these micro APIs as being something worthwhile. I mean, just one last thing without taking too much time. I'm not taking too much time, but like one of the, this is typically at a hackathon, this is what data looks like, right? My Switzerland is like the Swiss tourism organizations, and they're quite proud of their API. Okay, and I have to sign in, fine. It's actually quite good, and it's reasonably open in part. But people like to have an API because it's a contract, right? It explains, sorry, yes, there. It explains itself. It explains how it's to use it. And, this is, I think, is an important thing for frictionless data packages to do, is to explain themselves in a way a developer can understand, which of course a code snippet for a Jupyter notebook or an R Markdown notebook, it does do that kind of by example, but it leaves you kind of wondering about where's the contract, and above all, APIs, that's an engineering contract. So there's the whole thinking about what happens if it changes. How do I preserve backwards compatibility, etc. Anyway, I'll stop there, post the links. And just to say, I think this is kind of being at that intersection of social science, cultural, data heritage, and web engineering is really cool. And I'd love to see each of your fellows' projects kind of become realized in this way, potentially. Thank you.
Thanks, Oleg.
Pleasure.
Okay, we're sadly running out of time here, but I just wanted to quickly check with you if, especially the people that are joining like for the first time or the first times, if you had any questions for us, or maybe a question for Oleg as well. That's also possible.
No, for me it's fine, and thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah, it's very, very cool what everybody's doing. Kind of wish that I had known about this when I was back in college, but it's neat. I guess one question I do have is there like a centralized place that everybody's getting data, or is it just spread out all over the place?
I'll take that as the first answer. I think it totally depends on the field and the type of data you're looking for. Some domains do have more centralized repositories, open repositories, but I would say mostly it's a mix, and that there isn't like one central place.
Cool, thanks.
Any other questions or comments or anything?
I had a question more about Frictionless and how it's developed. I was wondering how you prioritize or collectively think about what you want to add to the toolkit. Yeah, given that everyone seems to be also working in different fields but have this shared interest in making these tools and making them better. Yeah, I was wondering how you decide how to and what to do. That might be too general of a question.
Yeah, that's a good question. Okay, I'll also take that one. Right now, a good example of this is that we have what's called feature voting for new features to be implemented into the Frictionless Pi code. And yes, let's see if we can get some links in there into the chat. Okay, thanks. And so the feature voting is a good example of where like we have such a great community and people have requests for things that they would like us to work on, but we are a really small team, so we can't do everything. And so we try and get input from all of the users to see which feature is going to be the most widely used or most widely requested. And then we can try and prioritize that way. So that's basically how we're doing it. You know, we're trying to listen to the users as much as we can within the limitations of like, basically it's Yevgeny that's our main developer. But if you have ideas or you have a request, we would love to hear it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I cannot find the voting on GitHub right now, but I can paste it to the agenda. I don't know if you have it, like, if you can quickly.
I'd have to look for it. Let's see if I can find it in 30 seconds.
Okay, great. Yeah, so Laura, I added some of the links that might be useful for you. We also have a Discord chat where we talk with the community. I can paste you an invitation link also for that, and for anyone who wants to join and is not yet there.
Yeah, thank you. I think I will have a look at the toolkit. It was very informative. Thank you so much. I enjoyed the call. And I will participate in the next one. Thanks you so much.
Thanks.
Thanks for coming.
Hi, Augusto. Welcome. We are closing, actually. Sorry.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, everybody. The time has come, sadly. It's 4 o'clock. Lily, did you want to add anything?
Just thank you all, and another shout out to come to the Fellows Workshop on next week during CSVConf. And there's lots of CSVConf things. There will be a llama, as Oleg is showing in his virtual background right now. Yeah, and if anybody has any questions, you know, at any time, reach out to us on Discord or Twitter, or you can email us, or GitHub is actually probably the best place if you are looking for a quick answer, GitHub or Discord. And yeah, thanks everybody for participating today.
Yeah, thanks everybody, and a big shout out to the fellows once again. Thanks.
Thanks. See you next
Thank
week.
you all.
Bye, everyone.
Great presentations.
Bye. Thanks.